Hi there. Today we are going to take a look at a Chinese fountain pen which I recently purchased from eBay, and this is quite a special fountain pen in comparison to all of the ones that I've reviewed, in the sense that it's not cheap plastic, but it's quite fascinating. So it has quite a few things going for, and that is the fact that it's made out of fine China porcelain. The fine China porcelain is also imprinted with some Chinese characters, as you can see here, and also with a horse. While I don't understand exactly what these characters are referring to, what is written on these characters, I can assume that this is a fountain pen that is dedicated to those 12 zodiac signs that we have in a year, and this is the horse. The design is quite amazing, I might say, and the fittings, the fittings are quite nice. That means the tolerances on this pen are quite well mitigated, and I must say this is quite of a hefty pen, but also extremely nice design. The fine China porcelain gives it a special look and also a special kind of feeling upon touching it. The clip of this pen resembles the Jinhao 159, and the ring of the cap, on the ring of the cap it says Jinhao. Then we have on the clip the Jinhao logo, the horse carriage. The finial of the pen is, I must say, also well done. It ends up with a black button, or the black button embedded into this metal ring. The clip is quite tight and pretty difficult to use, I would think, as usual in the Chinese pens. The end of the barrel ends up with this kind of knob, reminiscent of maybe a piston filler, but this does nothing, it's for just decorative purposes. And there's a step down from the porcelain body to this knob. At the end of the barrel there is also, it's very flat and it's full metal. I hope this metal is stainless steel and doesn't oxidize. If that's the case, then this pen is quite nice. And then we also have the section, and the section of the pen is quite, let's say, not as girthy as one would have expected from this pen. There's a step down from the porcelain barrel body to the conical shaped section. Then we also have the typical Jinhao nibs, which are, this one is smaller than the number 6 usually found in X450, 159 and X500. I would say it's quite comfortable to hold. There are no threads. The clip, the cap just simply clicks in and out. Also in the cap you have a protective plastic sleeve that prevents the ink from drying out very quickly, which is kind of a nice thing. I think Jinhao X450 also has it, but still dries out on me. I guess that depends on the quality control. Then we have the feet. This is the typical plastic feet from Jinhao. I've also discussed that these nibs from Jinhao are made out of plastic and are quite hydrophobic. That's also one of the reasons why you don't have a consistent ink flow into the nib. When you write, at some point they will dry out on you, and the ink saturation will fade away as with the time you write. And if you unscrew this, these are threads metal on metal, as you could also hear. Then it has the Jinhao typical converter, nothing special here. I didn't ink up this pen so far, but I will do that in front of you. I think it's quite a nice pen. From the design point of view, you can take a look down into the barrel, and what you will see is that it's all metal inside, and it has kind of the thickness of most likely the porcelain tube or the sleeve was inserted onto this barrel, a metal body. But the design, of course, this is probably screen printed or whatever technology they have used, but I would say it feels pretty high quality and has nice design. I like porcelain cups, I like porcelain in general, so I think this was a good purchase from a design point of view. And let's see how this pen performs. I will essentially ink up this pen with a Pelikan Royal Blue ink, nothing special. I have a lot of this Pelikan Royal Blue ink, and for playing with fountain pens, experimenting different things, is just perfect. I must say that the properties of this ink are quite dry in comparison, for example, with Iroshizuku or Rore und Klingner. So then typically I put this ink into very wet fountain pens, such as that of Visconti or maybe even Pelikan, and there is also a thinning of the line as you write in comparison with the other wet inks. Now this cap also posts very well, unbelievably well, and I must say that although this pen is top heavy, as you can see, because the weight is quite unbelievable. I think it must be weighing 70 grams or so with the cap, so it's quite a heavy pen. But I must say, when I cap it, it doesn't feel that heavy, just because it lies ergonomically in the hand, and the center of gravity somehow falls here into the cusp of my hand. Now you can also write with it unposted. This is totally fine. It doesn't feel that heavy anymore. I think the heaviest part of this fountain pen is the cap, but the rest seems totally fine. It's not that heavy. I would probably compare it with a Faber-Castell Emotion, and that pen is also heavy because it's full metal body and wood, and also the cap in Faber-Castell is quite heavy. You can look at my previous videos where I reviewed the Faber-Castell Emotion model. Now this fountain pen, for the testing purposes, I will use it capped, and here's the first sample writing. So this is Jinhao. Wow, I'm quite surprised how wet it writes. Unfortunately, I don't have a model number for this pen, and I also forgot to ask for one, so I really don't know what model. If you know what model this is, please comment below. So this is Jinhao, China, fine porcelain. I'm not sure how to spell porcelain. It's probably like that. I'll search on Google just to find, yep, porcelain. So I was right. And the nib is steel nib. It writes surprisingly smooth when I compare it with other Jinhao models such as X450 or 159, the number 6 nibs. So it writes surprisingly smooth. I would compare it even writes smoother than Faber-Castell. Emotion, if not smoother, then similarly smooth, and is surprisingly smooth in comparison for a steel nib. On a smoothness scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the smoothest, this is definitely a 2 or a 2.5. I'm very positively surprised. Then the ink, so the steel nib is medium, as you can see, maybe slightly towards broad. This paper is just supermarket, no name paper. This nib simply glides on the paper, and as you can see, it really keeps up very well when you draw lines or you write very fast. Unbelievably nice. So that makes me think that the feed is very good, and probably or hopefully they put some more work into this fountain pen. Now I also have to mention that the price of this fountain pen is significantly higher than the price for Jinhao X450 or 750 or 159 that you usually can buy it up to 10 within $10. This is way above that. I think I paid 4 or 5 times that price, but I really like the design, and the fact that it writes so well, that also tells me that the Chinese manufacturer also can also put in the effort to manufacture quality products, quality fountain pen. From the wetness point of view, I would say this pen is, let's say, quite wet, although the Pelikan ink, this royal blue, is not so, it's kind of a dryish ink. The wetness is quite surprising, and therefore also the ink saturation is quite nice. Now for the flexibility, you cannot expect that much. I would expect nothing from it. No, so there is not much flexibility to it, but then you can go towards broad. I think I pressed it a little bit too hard. So anyways, all in all, I think it was a great acquisition. I really like this design. I think it's a fantastic design. The pen is quite heavy, mostly the cap. If you use it uncapped, then it's quite pleasant to use. The section could have been girthier for my taste, but all in all, this pen writes surprisingly well. So I'm very positively surprised, and I think it's a pen really worth buying. I would recommend it as a starter pen or something a little bit more, maybe as a next or the next level from the really starting fountain pen. It's a good acquisition. I can only hope that the quality control is good enough so all that the other fountain pens from this series write also just as well as this one. So thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.